Hidden airport security risks can ruin your trip in minutes, and airlines rarely warn you about them. These airport security vulnerabilities can lead to missed flights, expensive rebooking, stolen valuables, or identity theft right inside the terminal. In this video, I'm breaking down 14 airport security risks every traveler should know before their next flight. We're counting down from number 14 to the most serious risk that frequent flyers still miss. And for each one, I'll show you exactly what to watch for and the simple steps that protect your money, your documents, and your peace of mind. Let's begin with risk number 14 and work our way toward the most critical security vulnerability that could affect every aspect of your journey. Risk number 14 involves carry-on battery restrictions that extend far beyond what most passengers realize. While everyone knows about laptop and phone batteries, many travelers miss the complex rules governing backup batteries, power banks, and medical devices. Security screeners often confiscate items that passengers assumed were perfectly legal, leading to delays and lost equipment. The confusion stems from constantly evolving regulations about lithium-ion battery capacity measured in watt-hours. Most passengers focus only on size restrictions while ignoring power specifications that determine whether their devices can board the aircraft. Electronic cigarettes, backup phone chargers, and even some camera equipment fall into gray areas where security interpretations vary between airports. To avoid this risk, always check current battery regulations on your airline's website before packing. Remove all backup batteries from checked luggage and ensure your power banks display their watt-hour ratings clearly. When in doubt, declare questionable items to security officers rather than hoping they'll pass unnoticed through screening. This preparation prevents the frustration of losing expensive electronics and helps maintain your departure schedule. Speaking of scheduling issues, our next risk involves a timing trap that catches thousands of passengers off guard every single day. Risk number 13 centers on TSA, PreCheck, and global entry renewal deadlines that sneak up on even organized travelers. These trusted traveler programs expire with minimal advance warning, often during peak travel seasons when replacement appointments are impossible to secure. One business traveler discovered his global entry had expired while checking in for an international flight, forcing him to endure standard security lines and customs processing for months. The enrollment systems become backlogged during busy periods, meaning expired members face weeks or months without expedited screening privileges. Many travelers assume they'll receive multiple renewal reminders, but notification systems often fail, or messages end up in spam folders. This oversight transforms quick security experiences into lengthy ordeals, especially during holiday travel periods. Set calendar reminders 6 months before your trusted traveler programs expire and begin renewal processes early. Monitor your membership status through official government websites rather than relying solely on email notifications. Consider applying for multiple programs as backup options, since processing times vary significantly. Maintaining active trusted traveler status saves hours of waiting time and reduces travel stress considerably. However, even trusted travelers face our 13th risk, which involves document authenticity, challenges that can ground your plans instantly. Risk number 12 exposes document validity periods that extend beyond simple expiration dates. Many countries require passports to remain valid for 6 months beyond your travel dates, while others demand completely blank pages for entry stamps. These requirements vary dramatically between destinations and can change without advance notice to travelers. Standard passport validity checks focus only on expiration dates while missing destination-specific requirements that immigration officers strictly enforce. Travel insurance policies often exclude coverage for trips canceled due to inadequate documentation, leaving passengers responsible for all associated costs. Even domestic travelers face similar issues when driver's licenses expire or fail to meet real ID requirements for certain flights. Research destination-specific passport requirements well before your departure date and count available blank pages carefully. Consider renewing passports even when they appear valid if your travel date falls within the 6-month window. Download official government apps that track document validity and requirements for your specific destinations. Proper document preparation eliminates costly last-minute discoveries and ensures smooth immigration processing. But even travelers with perfect documentation face our 11th risk involving security screening inconsistencies that vary dramatically between locations. Risk number 11 reveals how security screening procedures differ significantly between airports despite appearing standardized to casual observers. What passes through security in one location might trigger additional screening or confiscation in another, creating unpredictable travel experiences. These variations stem from local security interpretations, training differences, and equipment capabilities that passengers cannot anticipate. Liquid restrictions provide a perfect example where identical containers receive different treatment depending on security personnel and scanning equipment available. Some airports allow larger containers of certain medications, while others strictly enforce standard size limits regardless of medical necessity. Food items face similar inconsistencies, with identical snacks passing through some checkpoints while being confiscated at others. Pack conservatively by following the strictest interpretations of security rules rather than hoping for lenient enforcement. Research specific airport security procedures for your departure and connection points, since major hubs often implement additional restrictions. Arrive early to accommodate potential additional screening time without risking missed flights. Understanding these variations helps set realistic expectations and prevents security-related delays. Speaking of delays, our 10th risk involves a timing issue that affects millions of connecting passengers annually. If this is helping you travel safer, please tap like and subscribe. It really supports the channel. Thanks for being here. Now let's jump into risk number 10, where most passengers get connection timing completely wrong. Risk number 10 exposes minimum connection time miscalculations that leave passengers stranded between flights. Airlines publish official minimum connection times, but these figures assume perfect conditions that rarely exist in real airport environments. Security delays, weather issues, gate changes, and terminal transfers frequently extend connection times beyond published minimums, leaving passengers watching their next flight depart without them. International connections face additional complications, including customs processing, immigration lines, and terminal transfers that can add hours to connection requirements. One family missed their connecting flight in Frankfurt, despite having a 90-minute layover, because security screening took longer than expected, and their departure gate required a lengthy terminal transfer. The published connection times also fail to account for checked baggage transfer requirements, which operate on different schedules than passenger movements. Passengers might make their connection while their luggage travels on the next available flight, creating complications at their final destination. Always add buffer time beyond minimum connection requirements, especially for international transfers and peak travel periods. Choose longer layovers when possible, and research specific airport layouts to understand terminal transfer requirements. Consider booking connecting flights on the same airline when possible, since they're more likely to accommodate delays and rebook passengers automatically. Proper connection planning prevents missed flights and reduces travel stress significantly. However, even well-planned connections face our 9th risk, which most passengers never consider until it's too late. Now we're into the risks that cause the biggest problems: missed flights, lost money, and stolen valuables. The next few look completely routine, which is exactly why even frequent flyers miss them. Stay with me. This is where the costly mistakes happen. Risk number 9 involves baggage screening delays that cascade into major departure disruptions. While passengers focus on personal security screening, checked baggage undergoes separate inspection processes that can trigger significant delays without passenger notification. Suspicious items, automatic screening failures, and random security checks can hold bags for hours, while passengers wait unknowingly at their gates. The communication gap between baggage screening and passenger notification means travelers often discover issues only when their flight is ready for departure. Security personnel might need to locate specific passengers for bag inspection, but airport paging systems frequently fail to reach travelers in restaurants, lounges, or other terminal areas. This creates scenarios where flights depart without passengers whose baggage requires additional screening. International flights face even stricter baggage security requirements that can extend inspection times considerably. Certain items that pass domestic screening might trigger international security protocols requiring manual inspection and documentation. These delays often occur during peak departure periods when security staff face maximum workloads. Pack strategically by avoiding items that commonly trigger additional baggage screening, such as dense electronics, unusual shaped objects, and liquid containers. Check your airline's mobile app regularly for baggage status updates and respond immediately to any security notifications. Stay within airport paging range, especially during the final hour before departure. Proactive baggage management prevents last-minute surprises and departure delays. But our 8th risk involves personal item security that most passengers handle incorrectly throughout their journey. Risk number 8 reveals personal item vulnerability during security screening processes that creates opportunities for theft and loss. The security checkpoint environment requires passengers to place valuable items in bins while focusing attention on metal detectors and body scanners. This distraction creates perfect conditions for opportunistic theft, while travelers navigate screening procedures. Expensive electronics, jewelry, and travel documents spend several minutes unattended in screening bins, while owners undergo additional security procedures. Other passengers' bags and personal items mix together, creating confusion about ownership when items emerge from scanning machines. Security personnel focus on threat detection rather than item security, leaving valuable belongings vulnerable during the screening process. Airport security cameras monitor general areas, but rarely provide detailed coverage of individual screening bins or personal items during the inspection process. This means stolen items might not be recoverable even when theft is reported immediately. Travel insurance policies often exclude coverage for items lost during security screening, considering such losses preventable through proper precautions. Organize your carry-on items before reaching security checkpoints and use dedicated pockets for valuable items that require removal. Watch your bins throughout the screening process and retrieve items immediately after passing through scanners. Consider using TSA-approved locks on carry-on luggage to secure items that remain in bags during screening. Careful attention during security screening protects valuable items and prevents costly losses. However, our 7th risk involves identity verification procedures that can trap even prepared travelers. Risk number 7 exposes identity verification gaps that allow document fraud while simultaneously creating problems for legitimate travelers. Security systems designed to catch fake documents sometimes flag authentic identification due to technical glitches, scanning errors, or database mismatches. These false positives can delay or prevent travel, while legitimate travelers struggle to prove their identity. The verification process becomes more complex when travelers have recently changed names, renewed documents, or experienced identity theft. Government databases don't always synchronize immediately, meaning valid documents might appear invalid in security systems. International travelers face additional complications when their home country identification doesn't interface properly with destination security databases. Digital identity verification systems also create new vulnerabilities where technical failures can strand travelers despite having proper documentation. System outages, database corruption, and network connectivity issues can disable identity verification, preventing departures until technical problems are resolved. These technical failures often occur during peak travel periods when system loads are highest. Carry multiple forms of identification when possible, and ensure all documents show consistent information across different government databases. Report identity theft immediately and obtain official documentation confirming your identity status. Research destination identity requirements and contact consulates if you anticipate verification issues. Proper identity preparation prevents authentication, delays, and ensures smooth security processing. Speaking of processing issues, our sixth risk involves screening technology limitations that most passengers never consider. Risk number 6 reveals how screening technology gaps create security vulnerabilities while simultaneously causing delays for innocent travelers. Advanced imaging machines, body scanners, and explosive detection systems occasionally malfunction or produce false readings, requiring additional manual screening procedures. These technology failures can significantly extend screening times while creating uncomfortable situations for passengers who must undergo additional inspection. The technology also struggles with certain medical devices, clothing materials, and body types, creating screening challenges for travelers with disabilities, health conditions, or specific cultural requirements. Passengers with medical implants, pacemakers, or prosthetic devices often trigger additional screening protocols that can be time-consuming and invasive. Screening equipment calibration varies between airports and shifts, meaning identical items might produce different results depending on when and where screening occurs. Weather conditions, equipment age, and maintenance schedules all influence screening accuracy, creating unpredictable experiences for travelers carrying identical items. Research specific screening procedures for your medical devices or special needs before traveling and carry appropriate documentation from healthcare providers. Arrive early to accommodate potential additional screening time and communicate openly with security personnel about any special circumstances. Consider TSA care services for travelers with disabilities or medical conditions requiring additional assistance. Understanding technology limitations helps set appropriate expectations and reduces screening-related stress. But our fifth risk involves communication failures that can isolate travelers during critical security situations. We're in the final stretch now, and these next 5 are the most serious airport security risks on the list. They're the ones that can cost the most money, cause missed flights, or put your documents and personal info at risk. Stay with me. This is the part most travelers wish they'd heard sooner. Risk number 5 exposes communication breakdown scenarios during security emergencies that leave passengers uninformed and vulnerable. Airport emergency notification systems often fail to reach passengers in specific terminal areas during security incidents, lockdowns, or evacuation procedures. The complexity of modern airport terminals means emergency announcements might not penetrate all areas, leaving some travelers unaware of critical safety situations. Language barriers compound communication problems when emergency announcements are made only in local languages or use technical terminology that international travelers cannot understand. Hearing-impaired passengers face particular challenges when emergency notifications rely solely on audio announcements without visual alternatives. During one incident at Chicago O'Hare, passengers in certain gate areas remained unaware of a security lockdown for over 30 minutes, while others evacuated immediately. Emergency communication systems also struggle during power outages, network failures, or system overloads that occur precisely when communication becomes most critical. Social media and cell phone networks can become unreliable during major incidents, leaving passengers without reliable information sources about security situations. Download airport-specific emergency apps and familiarize yourself with terminal layouts, including emergency exits and communication systems. Register for airline and airport notification services that can reach you through multiple communication channels. Learn basic emergency terminology in the local language for international travel destinations. Effective emergency communication preparation can be life-saving during actual security incidents. Our fourth risk involves international transit security gaps that create dangerous exposure periods for travelers. Risk number 4 reveals international transit security vulnerabilities during connection periods that expose travelers to unique dangers. The security limbo between international flights creates periods where passengers exist in secure areas without being officially admitted to destination countries. These transit zones operate under different security protocols that might not protect passengers as thoroughly as standard terminal areas. Transit passengers often cannot access full airport services, emergency assistance, or consular support because they haven't technically entered the destination country. Medical emergencies, legal issues, or security incidents become complicated when passengers exist in international transit status without clear jurisdictional authority. Connection delays can extend these vulnerable periods for days when flights are canceled or severely delayed. Transit zone security also varies dramatically between airports, with some locations providing minimal supervision while others maintain strict monitoring. Passengers might encounter individuals who shouldn't be in secure areas, or discover that help isn't readily available during overnight layovers in international transit zones. Research transit zone facilities and security provisions for your connection airports, especially during extended layovers. Maintain contact with your airline and embassy during international connections, and carry emergency contact information for both departure and destination countries. Consider transit visas for extended connections that allow you to enter the country officially, rather than remaining in transit limbo. Understanding transit security helps protect you during vulnerable connection periods. However, our third risk involves the most overlooked security vulnerability that affects your personal information and financial accounts. Risk number 3 exposes digital security vulnerabilities in airport Wi-Fi and charging stations that compromise personal information and financial accounts. Airport networks appear secure, but often lack proper encryption, allowing cybercriminals to intercept passwords, financial information, and personal communications. Free Wi-Fi networks frequently mask malicious hotspots designed specifically to steal passenger data during travel periods when people are most likely to use unsecured connections. Charging stations throughout airports can contain malware that automatically installs on connected devices, stealing personal information or monitoring future activity. These compromised charging ports look identical to legitimate stations, making it impossible for travelers to identify dangerous connections. Financial information entered during flight bookings, hotel reservations, or shopping becomes vulnerable when transmitted over unsecured airport networks. The mobile banking and payment apps that travelers use frequently in airports often lack sufficient security for hostile network environments. Public computer terminals in airports pose additional risks since previous users might have installed keyloggers or other malicious software that captures passwords and personal information. Use personal mobile hotspots instead of airport Wi-Fi networks, and carry portable battery chargers to avoid public charging stations. Install VPN software on all devices, and avoid accessing financial accounts or sensitive information while connected to airport networks. Use airline-specific apps that provide better security than general airport Wi-Fi for flight-related activities. Protecting your digital security during travel prevents identity theft and financial fraud that can persist long after your trip ends. Now, we reach our second most critical risk, which involves emergency evacuation procedures that most passengers never learn about. Risk number 2 reveals emergency evacuation procedure gaps that could prove life-threatening during actual airport emergencies. Most passengers never receive proper instruction about airport evacuation procedures, assuming that airport staff will guide them during emergencies. However, airport employees focus on general crowd control rather than individual passenger assistance, leaving travelers to navigate evacuation procedures independently during chaotic situations. Airport evacuation routes often differ significantly from obvious pathways, with some emergency exits leading to secure areas that trap passengers rather than providing escape routes. Terminal construction and ongoing renovation can block traditional evacuation paths, forcing passengers to find alternative routes during emergencies when visibility and communication might be compromised. The evacuation procedures also vary between domestic and international terminal areas, with different security protocols affecting how passengers can exit during emergencies. International passengers might face additional complications if evacuation procedures require them to pass through customs or immigration checkpoints during emergency situations. Baggage handling during evacuations creates another critical decision point where passengers must choose between personal safety and retrieving valuable items. Emergency procedures typically prohibit passengers from collecting belongings, but many travelers don't understand this requirement until emergency situations occur. Familiarize yourself with emergency evacuation routes when you arrive at any airport and locate alternative exits beyond the obvious pathways. Understand that emergency evacuations prohibit baggage collection and carry essential medications and documents in easily accessible pockets. Practice basic emergency procedures mentally and discuss evacuation plans with traveling companions before emergencies occur. Proper evacuation knowledge could save your life during serious airport emergencies. But nothing compares to our #1 most critical airport security risk that affects every single passenger yet remains completely hidden from public awareness. Risk number 1 represents the most serious airport security vulnerability that airlines desperately want to keep secret. This involves the gap between passenger screening and airport employee security protocols that creates massive security vulnerabilities in every airport worldwide. While passengers undergo intensive screening procedures, airport employees often pass through separate entrances with minimal security checks, despite having extensive access to aircraft and secure terminal areas. This employee security gap means that potentially dangerous individuals with airport access badges can bypass passenger screening entirely, while having direct contact with aircraft baggage handling systems and passenger areas. Background checks for airport employees vary dramatically between locations and job categories, with some positions requiring extensive investigation, while others need only basic verification. The employee access systems also create vulnerabilities where terminated employees might retain access privileges due to database delays or administrative errors. Contractors, temporary workers, and vendor employees often receive airport access without undergoing the same security screening as permanent staff, creating additional security gaps. Recent incidents have demonstrated how airport employees can exploit these access privileges for criminal activities, including theft, drug smuggling, and even terrorist activities. The decentralized nature of airport security means that employee oversight varies significantly between different areas of the same airport facility. When traveling, pay attention to airport employee behavior and report suspicious activities to airport security immediately. Understand that airport employees have extensive access privileges that bypass normal passenger security procedures. If you witness airport personnel acting strangely or accessing areas inappropriately, contact airport police, rather than assuming someone else will handle the situation. This employee security gap represents the single greatest vulnerability in airport security systems because it affects every passenger while remaining completely invisible to travelers who assume all airport personnel undergo the same screening procedures they experience. The biggest takeaway from these 14 hidden security risks is that airport security systems contain numerous vulnerabilities that passengers must understand and navigate independently. These risks affect every traveler, regardless of experience level, and require active preparation rather than passive assumptions about airline and airport security measures. Smart travelers who understand these hidden risks can protect themselves while enjoying significantly smoother travel experiences than those who remain unaware of these critical security gaps. Have you ever encountered any of these hidden airport security risks during your travels? Share your experiences in the comments below to help other travelers learn from real situations.